Take a look, Donald. They're burning the MAGA hats. The MAGA supporters of Donald Trump are livid and feel betrayed for a variety of reasons, including Donald Trump covering up the Epstein files. We have total chaos and hell breaking loose within the MAGA world. A basic civil war is kind of taking place. You know, Rasmussen, the Pole that Donald Trump loves, he loves citing Rasmussen. Here's what Rasmussen said yesterday. The Republican Party is going into a mutiny. It's just a matter of when it's going to take place. You have people, MAGA influencers, posting this. The Epstein list will never be released. There will be no arrest. There will be no accountability. There will be no justice. That is how I and so many others feel right now. We've been had. Elon Musk goes, yup, that is right. You have people posting burn your MAGA hats over and over again. This is what happens with Donald Trump and all of these Ponzi schemes. Eventually, the people who are being had, they figure it out. Also, Elon Musk is basically unfollowing now every MAGA account at once. Got that going on. You have Gunther Eagleman, a big right-wing MAGA influencer, says, so wait a minute, Donald Trump is going after James Comey and John Brennan. He goes, is the Comey investigation a distraction from the Epstein files? And then Catturd, one of the big right-wing influencers, is like, what the F are you doing? Did you not get our talking points? What the F are you doing, man? And while all of this is going on, as I've said before, it's also just an issue of basic freaking competence. Kristi Noem, what a vile piece of trash. And I know you get angry sometimes when you go, hey, Ben, don't do the name calling. Sorry, sometimes. Noem didn't authorize FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams until Monday. In the Kerr County region in Texas, more than 72 hours after the flooding began, multiple sources told CNN. You see, what happened is, as they were eliminating FEMA and gutting all of these agencies like NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and NWS, the National Weather Service, one of the things that Noem did is there was any expenditure over $100,000, it needed her personal signature. So the people at FEMA said they were ready with the supplies, with the urban search and rescue equipment, with the swift boats, with all of the things that they needed, and she would not sign off on it. You know what she was doing all night on Sunday? She was posting photos of herself on Instagram and polling people which should be her governor's portrait, the blondie photo, the cowgirl photo, which one do people like the best right there? And it's why it makes me so utterly angry. And as they give us more fake stats from the Trump regime, like what was the latest one from the Labor Department? 100% of new jobs all come from Americans. 100%. There's no non-American jobs that have been created. What the hell are they talking about? Remember when I showed you that 33,000 jobs were lost last month, according to the ADP private payroll data, but miraculously, when you added government jobs, which the Trump regime says they were cutting, all of a sudden the Trump regime stats from their Commerce and Labor Department said 147,000 jobs were created. Interesting that it would have the number 47 in it, that all of these government jobs and teaching jobs were the reason that there was all of this growth, and not from the private sector. Do you believe anything coming out of this regime right now? And as I said at the outset, MAGA's waking up, burning their MAGA hats. One of the things we learned as well is that Amazon's first day traffic for Amazon Prime Day is down 41% right now. Online shopping is seeing its overall biggest slowdown in over a decade as tariffs disrupt e-commerce. And you may be saying, but that's different, Ben, than what Donald Trump and the regime are saying. Isn't it interesting when the data comes from third-party independent sources that are just reporting the comparables and the data? It's one thing, but when the Trump regime reports it, it's another thing. So what all of these groups is, it's a massive conspiracy taking place where all these different groups, ADP and all these groups that take all this other data, they're lying. Why? They're the deep state that's trying to go after Trump, or maybe the guy who's lied his entire life, who's been found civilly liable for fraud, who's bankrupt bankrupt in multiple business, who is an actual felon for business records fraud, who is a sexual abuser found liable for such, who brags about sexually assaulting women because he's rich and gets away with it. Maybe that's the bad guy in all this. Maybe there's a common thread. MAGA people who are burning your freaking hats right now. Donald Trump held a disastrous, weird meeting with 5 African leaders, and he was asked a question. Sir, can you explain how you calculate your tariffs? What you just did a tariff against Brazil for 50% because you want them to release Jair Bolsonaro, who launched a coup against Brazil, and you're claiming that there's a deficit with Brazil when there was a surplus over the past 10 to 15 years with Brazil, 25 or 30% with the Sultan of Brunei, 30% of Iraq. Where are you getting these numbers from, Donald? Well, how are you coming up with them? He goes, it's just like common sense, man. It's like common sense. Here, play this clip.
Sir, can you explain how you calculated your latest round of tariffs? Was there a formula that was used? And do you expect any of these countries to face tariffs as well?
The formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years, and based on raw numbers. And we're going to have a couple of more coming out today. Brazil, as an example, has been not good to us, not good at all. We're going to be releasing a Brazil number, I think, later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning. But they're based on very substantial facts and also past history. You look at the past history, we never had anybody in the White House that understood the numbers or were into it like I have. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, hundreds of billions, and we haven't even started
yet. Really common sense, as the Homeland Security Department is posting memes like this. Just think about that. This is from the official Homeland Security account. Fire up the deportation planes, and it is a skeleton that is bench pressing or lifting. My body is a machine that turns ICE funding into mass deportations. Funny, man. Haha, you're disappearing off the streets. What a funny freaking joke. What a nutcase lunatic fascist regime that we have right there. Look, you have MAGA Republican Senator Tom Tillis calling out the regime. A little late, Tom Tillis. And Tom Tillis explains that he voted against the disastrous budget bill. He's the senator from North Carolina. Trump started attacking him, and he's like, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. Well, you put up with this bullshit, Tom Tillis, for a pretty long time and screwed a lot of us over. Here, play this.
And I've probably done it more than many. Every time I'm very frank with him, but he has never been untoward, never raised his voice.
He just goes on social media and does it.
Yeah, well, that's the first time he ever did. And so after he did that, after I told the president that he's clearly got the votes, that I will try and work to get something done in the House. He didn't need my vote, and that I would be respectful and quiet and try to do my work on the House side. And then I got that text that I texted him, or I saw I'd never read it, but I saw like the first sentence. I told the president in another text, I said, now it's time to start looking for my replacement because I don't deal with that kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And what did he say to that?
He texted back, I am. And I think subsequent to that, he started taking interviews. He needs to, because it's going to be a tough race in North Carolina. We got to get a good candidate. And I'm committed to helping the president get that candidate elected. If it's not, let's say, a handful of people that will never make it in a general election in North Carolina.
No, all that's happening. You have state regime media Fox. Here's Larry Kudlow saying that the Fed needs to be cleansed. Here, play this clip.
Fed is in need of perestroika. In other words, the Fed has to be cleansed of its deep state dislike of all things Donald Trump, and frankly, its deep state bureaucratic groupthink of deadwood economists with models that haven't worked in 50 years. People who are now advising Jay Powell to fight President Trump and Mr. Trump's economic growth agenda. The next Fed chair has to go toe-to-toe with the hundreds of Fed economists who are spurring Jay Powell on his fight against Trump's tariff and reciprocity free trade policies. Also, Mr. Trump's tax cut policies. Economic growth does not cause inflation. Tariffs do not cause inflation, as per CEA Chair Stephen Myron's recent paper, and even Austin Goolsby's interview, Chicago Fed president, where Austin acknowledged the real-world fact that exporters and U.S. companies will eat the tariffs, not consumers or consumer prices.
It needs to be. Why going to put Donald Trump in charge? Oh, I'm sure he'll give us the right numbers, absolutely. There's a new Federal Reserve chairman in 2026. They want to push Jerome Powell out, who Donald Trump appointed. Jerome Powell's the one thing that's keeping the economy together right now. Donald Trump then also appointed, the disaster Sean Duffy. Remember all those plane crashes we've seen? Well, Sean Duffy is now the head of NASA also. He's the Secretary of Transportation and he's the interim head of NASA. You're doing a tremendous job, Sean. Remember how Donald Trump said yesterday, I won't play it again 2 days ago, he said, the people in Texas, the Trump administration, we've done an incredible job in Texas. Great work, everybody. Great work, Duffy. There's been more plane crashes in a short period of time than like ever. Donald Trump, more tariffs from Donald Trump. I'm also doing a 50% tariff on copper. We're doing a national security assessment. 50% tariff on copper. Do you realize for copper, there has to be a copper mine? And do you realize that those just exist in certain locations? It's not like you can just start, we're going to build a copper factory in the United. It doesn't work that way. But, you're hearing the Trump regime who's picking tariffs based on vibes. I like this country. I don't like this country. Do they support insurrectionists? I like them. Are they against insurrectionists? I don't like them. Here, Donald Trump goes there. This was part of that meeting yesterday. He's there with the president of Liberia. Liberia's official language is English. Maybe you want to go back and look at the history, Donald, of how Liberia was formed. And he goes, man, wow, your English is so good. I mean, how embarrassing and degrading is this? Here, play this clip.
Well, thank you. And such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
I have people at this table can't speak nearly as well.
And then, of course, if you want to get your way in the Trump regime, you got to do what the president of Senegal did right here and said, Donald, you are a great golf player. Everybody knows what a great golf player you are. May we build golf courses with you in Senegal and help? And Donald Trump's like, oh, what an idea. Here, play this clip.
Senegal has exceptional opportunities to offer, including in the area of tourism. So perhaps an investment could be made in a golf course in Senegal. It would just be 6 hours by flight from New York, from Miami, from Europe, or from the Gulf. And that would be an opportunity for you to show off your skills on the golf course too. Thank you for your attention, sir.
Nice. It's some way to show off my skills. It's a long trip to show off my skill, but that's really nice. And he's led a very interesting life. He looks like a very young person. He's a little older than he looks.
Well, that's the message to the international community right now. There's a reason that the BRICS bloc is getting stronger. There's a reason why our allies, our former allies, are icing us out, forming more relationships with themselves. It is a complete you-know-what show here in the United States. But you're seeing it. I'm giving you all the data points. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers together. Thanks for watching.